thought he loved me. Why would he leave me now?
She was pregnant, abandoned, and completely broke. But within days, everything changed, because the man she barely knew had just died, and what he left behind would turn her into one of the richest women alive. But the truth about her father would raise more questions than answers. Emily Carter had always believed her life would follow a simple path, the kind many people quietly hope for but rarely question. A stable home, a loving partner, and a future that felt predictable in the best possible way. She met Daniel Carter in her late 20s, and for a while, everything seemed to fall into place. He was calm, thoughtful, and carried himself with a quiet confidence that made Emily feel safe. Their relationship moved quickly but not recklessly. It felt natural. Within a year, they were married, building a life together in a modest suburban home just outside Chicago. At first, nothing about their life suggested anything unusual. Daniel worked long hours in finance, often coming home late but always composed, always in control. Emily, on the other hand, worked part-time and focused on building a home filled with warmth and comfort. When she discovered she was pregnant, it felt like the final piece of a life she had always imagined. She told Daniel on a quiet evening, her hands trembling with excitement, expecting joy, maybe even tears. Instead, his reaction was subtle, almost too subtle. He smiled, hugged her, and said all the right words, but something in his eyes didn't match the moment. It was the kind of detail most people would overlook, but for Emily it lingered in the back of her mind longer than it should have. As the weeks passed, small changes began to surface. Daniel became more distant, not in a way that could easily be explained, but in ways that added up over time. He started taking calls in private, stepping outside or into another room, lowering his voice as if he didn't want to be overheard. When Emily asked about it, he brushed it off as work stress, something temporary, something she didn't need to worry about. And she wanted to believe him. She needed to believe him. After all, they were about to become parents. This was supposed to be the happiest time of their lives. But the silence between them began to grow, and with it, a quiet sense of unease that Emily couldn't fully explain. Then, one evening, everything shifted. Daniel came home later than usual, his expression unreadable, his movements slower, heavier, and he didn't say much during dinner, barely touched his food and avoided eye contact. Emily tried to reach him, asking if something was wrong, but he gave short, vague answers. That night, as she lay awake beside him, she could feel the distance more clearly than ever before. It wasn't just emotional. It felt final, as if something had already been decided without her knowledge. And by morning, that feeling proved true. Daniel was gone. No argument, no explanation, just a note that said he needed time and that she shouldn't try to find him. For Emily, the silence that followed was overwhelming. The house felt different, emptier, colder. Every room carried a reminder of what had been there just days before. She tried calling him, texting him, searching for any sign that this wasn't real, but there was nothing. It was as if he had disappeared completely, leaving her to piece together a reality she didn't understand. Pregnant and alone, Emily was forced to confront a future she had never prepared for. Bills, responsibilities, uncertainty all came crashing in at once. And just when it felt like things couldn't become more confusing, the call came. It was a number she didn't recognize, a calm voice on the other end asking if she was Emily Carter. The man introduced himself as a lawyer and spoke with a level of formality that immediately caught her attention. He informed her that her father had passed away. The words didn't land the way they might have for someone else. Emily hadn't seen her father in years. Their relationship had always been distant, almost non-existent. He had left when she was young, and aside from a few scattered memories, he was more of an idea than a presence in her life, so hearing about his death didn't bring immediate grief. It brought confusion. Why now? And why was a lawyer calling her directly? Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. The lawyer continued, explaining that there were matters that required her immediate attention, that her father's estate was significant, and that she had been named as the primary beneficiary. The phrasing was careful, deliberate, as if each word had been chosen for a reason. Emily listened, trying to process what she was hearing, but none of it seemed to make sense. Her father had never been part of her life in any meaningful way. He hadn't supported her. He hadn't stayed in touch, hadn't shown any interest in being present. So how could he have left behind something that required this level of urgency? Over the next few days, Emily found herself pulled into a situation she had no control over. She was asked to attend a formal meeting, to review documents, to answer questions about a man she barely knew. The more she learned, the more unsettling it became. Her father, the man she had written off as absent and insignificant, had lived a life completely hidden from her. Business holdings, investments, connections that stretched far beyond anything she could have imagined. It wasn't just wealth, it was influence. The kind of influence that didn't draw attention but quietly shaped outcomes from behind closed doors. And as the details unfolded, one thought began to take hold in Emily's mind, growing stronger with each passing moment. If all of this was true, then why had Daniel left when he did? The timing was too precise to ignore. He had walked away just before everything changed, just before the truth about her father came to light. It raised a question Emily wasn't ready to answer but couldn't avoid. Had he known something she didn't? And if he had, what else had he been hiding?